Hello and welcome, and in this episode today we'll be looking at the 2 key steps to move from self-care to self-love. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because this is something that's really impacted my life. The more that I've seen the difference between self-care and self-love and how they impact my life on a day-to-day basis, the more that I've seen that actually there's a way that I can choose to come from self-love, which doesn't necessarily mean I need to do self-care. And it's a really fascinating thing that I'm waking up to, and the more that I wake up to this, the more that I lean into this, the brighter my life becomes. So welcome to In the Moment with me, Alex Manzi. I'm a coach, and my journey from depression to finding inner peace and fulfillment has led me on to work with athletes, artists, creatives, entrepreneurs. And this podcast is all about inspiring you to make a positive change in your life so you can start living a life of fulfillment. So let's jump in and take a look at the 2 key steps that you can take to move from self-care to self-love. So there's a distinction to be made between self-care and self-love. To me, there's a real difference between the two, and this is something that I've kind of seen in my own life. The difference that I see is that self-care is something that you do, and self-love is a way of being. And to me, they're 2 different things which can cross over. And what I mean by that is self-care is taking care of yourself. It's in the name, right? It's taking care of yourself. And self-love is loving yourself. Self-care is looking after yourself. It's doing things that you enjoy. It's setting boundaries. It's taking care of yourself, your energy, your time, your presence, your focus. This is very much like a doing thing. It's very much, I'm going to go and do something to take care of myself. So some examples are going for massages, going for spa weekends, taking yourself on little trips, going on solo dates to the cinema or for dinner. I like to go to the cinema by myself. That's a form of self-care. I like to go to the sauna on a Friday morning as part of my new Friday morning routine. That's a form of self-care because I'm doing something to take care of myself. Now, this is still important. It's not to say self-care or self-love, one's better than the other. But what I want to highlight is the difference between the two. And for me, self-care is very much a doing thing. It's something that I'm going to go and do to show myself that I care, show myself that I'm a priority in my life. So when I take my Friday morning and I go to the gym and then I go to the sauna after and have a little cold plunge and then I go back in the sauna, I'm showing myself, I'm sending a signal to myself that I matter, that I'm a priority in my life, that I'm taking care of myself. The same when I go to the cinema by myself. It's a way of me showing myself that I'm taking care of myself right now. And the brain starts to pick up on these signals. It starts to pick up on, oh, okay, right. So yeah, we're taking care of ourselves. That's cool. And it's a thing that we can do. And they're kind of momentary things that we can do to make us feel nice in those moments. Now, the difference between self-care and self-love is to me, it's something deeper. Self-love is loving yourself even through your tough times. It's dropping judgments of yourself. It's being at peace with your past. And for me, all of those things have been a part of my journey. Like, for me to really learn to love myself, I had to learn to let go of the judgments that I had of myself based on my past and being depressed and spending 7-8 years unsatisfied and sort of chasing the wrong things, so to speak. I had a lot of judgment on that. I had to learn to be at peace with that past so that I could release that judgment so that I could love myself. And as a way of being, as a way of loving myself, that's so different. It's a different place than self-care. Self-care is like a momentary thing that I can go out and do something and send that signal to my brain that I am a priority. Another example of that would be like going to the gym in the morning, which is a big priority for me. It's a way of me telling myself that I matter. I care for myself. I prioritize myself. I prioritize my health. And my brain picks up on these signals. Whereas self-love, it's a place that I'm choosing to come from throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the months. So the times where I feel like I'm going through a tough time or a challenging time, the question I always ask myself is like, how can I love myself here? The same way, if a friend came to me and they were going through a tough time, I'm not going to sit there judging them and being like, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be thinking that. You shouldn't I would be loving them. I would be like, tell me about that. What are you feeling? Like, I would just be expressing love with them. I might just hug them. I might just sit there and hold space for them and listen and not even say anything. That's an expression of love towards them. Now, if I can have that same level of energetic love for myself, then it's very different to just taking care of myself. It's a place that I'm choosing to come from in my life. It's a place that I'm choosing to be for myself, to come from a loving place, to come from a loving state of being. And when I'm coming from a loving state of being, it starts with love for myself. But guess what happens when I'm being loving towards myself? I'm probably going to be more loving towards other people, like the friend example. Or when I go into my local shops, I'm going to have nice conversation with the people who run the shop. I might say something nice about how well they always treat me. Or I might go into the coffee shop and I might acknowledge them for the amazing service and the great food. I'm sharing that love with more people. And because it starts with me, because the love that I have for myself is the place to start. Whereas self-care, it's I'm going out to do something to almost treat myself is another way of looking at it. Now, the big difference here that I see is that self-care is kind of a momentary thing. It's the trip abroad, it's going to the spa, it's the solo date night. They're momentary things where you can be in that feeling of I'm valuing myself right now, I'm caring for myself right now, I'm prioritizing myself right now. You can be in that feeling momentarily. You go for like a 3-day weekend, say with your partner or by yourself or with a few friends. You can be in that feeling of like, I'm treating myself to a few days away here with people that I love because I've worked hard and I've earned it. And you can be in that feeling for a few days. And then when you come back home, as you may know, and as I know, sometimes that feeling disappears. Now, the difference with self-love is, like I said, it's a place that I'm choosing to come from. It's like a starting point. I'm starting from a place of self-love. So when I'm starting from a place of self-love, it doesn't matter if I'm on a 3-day trip or I'm solo cinema dating myself, or I'm just working and I'm facing a challenge, or I'm spending time with some clients of mine. I'm starting from a place of love for myself. So self-love as a starting point, as a way of being, as a way of choosing to show up in my life is a gift for life. And that's the difference. Self-love is a gift that you keep on giving yourself for life, whereas self-care is momentary moments of love towards yourself. And you can hopefully see what the difference is here. Now, I'm choosing to come from a place of self-love all the time. It doesn't mean I'm always extremely loving towards myself, no. But when I do catch myself not being loving towards myself, I catch myself, I stop myself, and I return back to love. And I ask myself, what would I do if I was being loving towards myself right now? How would I be towards myself if I was being loving right now? How would I speak to myself? How would I think about myself if I was being loving towards myself right now? And that's the difference. Because that is something that you can continue to create every day, every moment, across the weeks, across the months, across the years. And self-love versus self-care is a muscle, so to speak, that you can work on, you can build up. Same way you go to the gym, and you might pick up a dumbbell and you work that muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. Same with self-love. The more you work the muscle of self-love, the stronger it gets. The more of a starting point it becomes, the more of a place to come from it becomes in your life. And it's a real difference because self-love is created every moment. It's created with how you speak, it's created with how you think, it's created with how you are towards yourself. It's created in choosing to drop your judgments. It's created in choosing to be nicer towards yourself in the times when you're going through challenges. Whereas self-care is choosing to do something nice for yourself. Now, like I said, there's an overlap, right? When you're doing self-care, you can be coming from a loving place for yourself. So there is an overlap, and it doesn't just require self-care in order to self-love. Self-love is something that you can lean into and create day after day after day after day after day, and moment after moment after moment after moment. And for me, that's the big difference. The more that I see this in my life, the more that I see that, yeah, the moments of self-care are great. And like I said, I'm not demonizing those, that they're amazing. I think everyone should have some kind of self-care practices that they do regularly to show themselves that they care about themselves, to send those signals to the brain that I matter, I prioritize myself, I want to take care of myself. And Self-love is something that is longer lasting. Self-love is something that you can choose for life, not just in a moment. And that's the big difference for me. So to recap that, self-care is doing things for yourself, sending signals to your brain to say, I matter, I care, I prioritize myself. It's taking yourself out on dates. It's going to the spa. It's taking yourself on trips abroad. It's creating small moments where you can be in the feeling of love for yourself. Whereas self-love is something that you can create and a place to come from day after day after day after day after day. So that was the 2 key steps to move from self-care to self-love. I hope you got a lot from this video, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit subscribe so you can catch up on all the latest videos that are coming. And be sure to come and find me over on Instagram and TikTok at I am Alex Manzi. And I'd love to hear from you what you got from this episode. Shoot me a DM, and I always reply to my DM, so I'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you for the next episode.